Protesters who are against Trump's policies are gathering across the U.S. in what is being called No Kings Day demonstrations. They're happening just hours ahead of the president's big military parade for the Army's 250th birthday. We have team coverage for us right now. You'll see in this, quad box screen here, CNN's Michael Yoshida in Los Angeles, Lee Waldman joining us from Philadelphia, as well as Brian Todd in Washington, D.C. Let's begin in Los Angeles with a quite sizable crowd there. Michael Yoshida. Michael, what's happening?
Hey, Fred, you can see the march has started here in downtown Los Angeles. Thousands filling the street. You can see they have taken to the streets. We have a sea of signs, of chants, people showing up today. Again, this is the No Kings protest. It follows a week of marches and rallies here in downtown Los Angeles. And as we walk through the crowd, we just have a variety of different organizations, people showing up. And I want to show you this. As we talk about this No Kings protest, you can see we have a giant Constitution that is being carried through the streets of downtown LA. Again, just floats of all kinds, people of all kinds. And when we talk about this making its way through here, with Harry, Bill,
this is Carrie.
Carrie. Why are you out here today?
Really just mourning the loss of empathy in this country. And I think just what we're doing with trying to take children from mothers and break families up is just disgusting. And I felt like I wanted to have my voice heard out here.
And what is this?
So this gentleman here from We the People organized the carrying of this giant the Constitution. There are thousands of signatures on there, and we're just here to protest and say, let's get back to honoring our Constitution in this country.
Thank you so much. So again, thousands taking to the street right now. We have a giant Constitution. We have giant floats and balloons all around us. This started about an hour ago, right by City Hall. Again, we're in downtown LA at this point. We had a chance to hear from immigrants, children of immigrants, others out here just in solidarity, showing their support for those who want to make sure their voices are heard, make sure their voices are heard peacefully. That has been the message from those taking part, from the leaders here in LA. LA Mayor Karen Bass telling people to show up. But again, do so peacefully. As you can see, very peaceful right now, very energetic. But again, going so peacefully. This is going to wrap up back at City Hall, where we're expecting more speakers. Obviously, this is just one of thousands of events happening across the country. Fred?
All right, boisterous but peaceful. Michael Yoshida in Los Angeles, thank you so much. Let's go to Philadelphia now, where we find Lee Waldman, where the crowd is quite sizable there, too. Tell us what's happening.
Fred, you mentioned it. Quite sizable crowd here. Take a look at how many people are outside of the Museum of Art here in Philadelphia. We talked to organizers of this protest here. They suspect over 100,000 people are here braving these rainy conditions. Michael Yoshida talking about the peaceful protest there in LA. It's the same thing here. Lots of peace. People saying that they're showing up here to show Washington, D.C. today that this is what democracy looks like. They keep underscoring that, and it's because here in Philadelphia, this is where the Constitution was signed. They said this is the birthplace of democracy, and their goal is to get it back to that. And you can see people here, they're not being deterred from the rain that's been coming down all day. They marched over a mile to get to where we are today, and one of the very first speakers that they heard from was Representative Jamie Raskin. He talked about how important it is to be here and give the voice back to the people. Take a listen.
People don't want to live in a society where the president is calling out the Army and the National Guard against our own people. That's totally antithetical to what America means. We were conceived as a democracy that rebelled against kings. We don't need kings and queens and dictators.
We also hear from people today who said that they are the sons and daughters of immigrants, and that is what's bringing them out here. That is the champion cause of so many people here in Philadelphia. Fred.
All right, thanks so much, Lee. Appreciate it. All right, now to the nation's capital, where the celebrations will be underway soon for the 250th birthday for the U.S. Army. But right now, there are also some demonstrations of another sort. That's where we find our Brian Todd walking with people. What's happening?
Well, Frederica, we believe this really could be the main event in Washington, D.C., staging itself as a protest against President Trump's event, against that military parade, which is going to be taking place a couple of hours from now, about a mile away from here. This group is refusefascism.org. They're the ones who organized this. They have just started marching from Logan Circle in Washington. They're headed over to Lafayette Square Park, right across from the White House. They've stopped for a moment here, but they're going around this circle and then heading down to the White House that way. Lots of creative signs, effigies, and other things. This gentleman here on a tall bike, he calls it a hex cycle. That's pretty creative. But we also want to talk to a veteran, because this is clearly, like, obviously illustrating the unique perspective of a military parade and a large-scale one. This is Ralph. He only wants to go by his first name. He's a longtime Navy medic who is now retired. Ralph, give me your direct overriding take, if you could, your impressions of President Trump's event and this military parade being staged here.
Thank you, Brian. First of all, I mean, I am a 20-year veteran, and what's happening to our veterans is just, it's sad. I watched what happened when they wanted to stand on the steps last night, and all they did was knock a barricade down. That's all they did, to protest on the steps. And they wanted to make a big deal out of it and arrest them and put them in buses. But yet the MAGA can tear one of our government buildings apart, and President Trump lets him out of jail.
But let's talk about the event here today. What's your impression as a military man, a 20-year Navy medic, of what, I mean, this staging of military hardware, tanks, howitzers rolling down Constitution Avenue? What do you think of it?
The parade don't belong here. But that is, when you bring a parade, you see that in dictatorships, okay? You see that in North Korea. You see that in China. You see that in Russia. This is we the people in the United States of America. We don't need to have our military paraded on the streets, because our people, they know our military is out there. But you know what? We're not here for a parade. We're here to protect this country. And that is our oath, to protect this world from both foreign and domestic enemies. And if we're in the streets of Washington, D.C., while they're bombing in Israel and Iran, it's just not right. It's not right to our troops, period.
All right, Ralph, thank you very much for talking to us. We really appreciate it. There's the perspective of a veteran. There are also veterans at the front of this march. They purposely had a group of veterans leading this march at the front. And again, we're heading down toward the White House. We talked to organizers of this march and series of rallies here. They are coordinating very closely with the U.S. Park Police and with the D.C. Metropolitan Police to try to de-escalate anything that might happen, try to avoid any violence. They're in very close coordination. There is a police presence around this march, but it has been fairly subtle so far. Frederica.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because we all heard the president who said any protests would be met with force. He didn't make a distinction about whether people were violent or whether they were carrying out peaceful protests. And when you talk about a coordination with Park Police and other entities, are the demonstrators there saying anything to you about their concerns about being arrested or being met with force just simply by gathering and walking and appearing?
You know, they don't seem to be very worried about that. They are very confident that this is going to stay nonviolent. And as they said, they've been in close coordination with the Metropolitan Police. They've had meetings. They've got permits for this. They've got permits for the Logan Circle event. They've got permits for Lafayette Square. And this is all coordinated. And they also realize, Frederica, in this city, it's uniquely able to handle an event like this. The police are used to this kind of thing. So you get the impression that the protesters here understand that. They are not really worried about being met with, quote, heavy force, as the president said. But of course, if this gets out of hand, that
to demonstrations on a variety of scales. Brian Todd, thank you so much in the nation's capital. Lee Waldman in Philadelphia. Michael Yoshida in Los Angeles. Thanks to all of you.